So this video is me narrating how I was treated when I wrote a complaint to Cumbria Constabulary in the northwest of England about how I was treated when I visited the main office of the wills and probate law firm Gedye Sons with a copy of my grant of probate laminated and requested the information from my mother's estate, which they had denied me and excluded me from, treating me though I wasn't an executor. This isn't the only complaint I've made to Cumbria Police, Cumbria Constabulary. I've made many complaints to them, and almost all of my complaints have been treated appallingly. I've been treated appallingly. I've been abused. As a result of making complaints. To make a complaint to the British police is to set yourself up for abuse. It is a most corrupt complaint system, notoriously corrupt. So I've also forgotten to say that when I was set up at the main office of Gedye Sons, I recorded everything. I audio recorded everything. I set my audio recording before I entered the office because I had already been really abused when I had previously attended the office. So the scam they did on me, the abuse they did on me, setting me up to be, setting a trap for me to be abused by the police, intimidated, threatened. They were hoping arrested. They were hoping that I'd be arrested. I recorded everything, audio, everything. I recorded everything. I recorded from the time I entered the office, politely asked to see the owner or one of the owners, and or the probate manager. I recorded where I was not asked to leave. I was asked to wait in reception. I recorded throughout the 20 minutes I was waiting, and I recorded I recorded the Gedye Sons staff coming out to meet me, not asking me to leave, the office manager asking me if she could help me. She never asked me to leave. She asked me, can we help? The owner and the probate manager aren't around. Can we help? So I also recorded her suddenly cutting me off and springing the trap and saying, so I've got to stop you there because we were told to call the police if you came to this office and they're now here. And uh, immediately after she said that, police walked in. So she and the owners, even though they weren't around, set a trap for me. I recorded it all. And none of them knew that I had recorded it until I was out of the building and asking for the police names, and then I said to them, I've recorded all this. I wrote a transcript of the incident, my visit. I wrote a transcript of what I recorded, and based on that transcript, I made my complaint. So, when about maybe 2 weeks later, I got a response, an acknowledgement from the complaints and misconduct manager of Cumbria Constabulary. He did a summary of the complaint, because that's how they work their complaints, the police. They do summaries. But when they do these summaries, they manipulate the summary, they twist the summary to change, depending on the person, to change the complaint into something completely different from what you've made. So this complaints manager, he twisted my complaint using the summary, and the summary gets passed on to a police officer to investigate. He made it look in his summary as though the Gedye Sons staff warned me when I arrived that they had been told to call the police if I came to the office, and that hearing that, I chose to remain there. That is the way the complaint and misconduct manager of Cumbria Constabulary, he's still there now, twisted my complaint using his summary. I was shocked and I was outraged, and I wrote him back pointing out what he had done and pointing out what my complaint said. He then wrote back and said, so he's amended it, and he said that the investigator will get a copy of the amendment, but actually the investigator, a real crook of a woman, a real devil of a woman, this Sergeant Seif, when she responded to my complaint, she responded to his version, to his twisted, crooked, deceitful version. So it's nonsense. So that's the first thing. This nasty woman that responded to my complaint, she is a sergeant, or was a sergeant, but for the purposes of dealing with my complaint, the complaints department, they call police complaints departments, they call them professional standards departments. That's what they call them, professional standards departments. They're complaints departments. So she was elevated by the complaints department, the professional standards department, to the rank of acting inspector. So she wrote me as an acting inspector for the purposes of my complaint. But I found out later from someone in the complaints department is that she was really a sergeant at her police station, Barrow Police Station. She's really a sergeant. So once I found that out, I always addressed her as a sergeant. So she was appalling in the way she dealt with me. The acknowledgement letter she wrote me, that when she introduced herself and said she was going to deal with my complaint, she also told me how she was going to deal with it, and she said if I had any issues I should contact her before a certain date. It was either the 30th or 31st of January. It was the 31st of January. But guess what? She deliberately sent me this letter to arrive only on the 31st of January, the day I was supposed to get back to her by if there was something I wasn't happy with. The letter she sent me was date marked the 30th of January. And she put in the letter that I should get back to her, obviously by letter. I didn't have her phone number. I should get back to her by the 31st. She deliberately sent me the letter, date stamped the 30th. It only arrived, I was even lucky it arrived on the 31st. It could have easily arrived after that. It arrived on the day she was supposed to receive my reply by. This is what they're like. This police woman is nasty. She's nasty. And she then, when she didn't hear from me by the 31st, she had everything planned. She sent me her response dated the 1st of February. She didn't waste any time. She did not waste any time. It was and it was the 1st of February. That's what she was like. Because I tried to contact her with my issues about how I wanted things. I phoned the complaints department, and I even wrote her, but obviously my letter arrived late. But she sent me her response the day after her deadline, when I only received the letter on the day of her deadline. What a crook. And when I received her letter, it was appalling. It was terrible. I even didn't feel well for that week, and I spent a week writing a furious response to her atrocious, outrageous response. Her response, apart from preamble, apart from some standard stuff in there, that they do it according to a template. Her response consisted of about two or three paragraphs of 2, 3, and 4 lines. One was 2, one was 3, and one was 4. That was her response to me. That was her response, and it was appalling, absolutely appalling. Especially when you consider how she had manipulated so that I didn't get much chance to say about how to raise issues that I had. She told me that the premises is a private premises, and she said the staff did not want you there, and she said the police officers considered that they acted appropriately considering the information they received from the office manager, which they received behind my back. She said the police officers considered that you may cause a breach of the peace if you did not leave. That is why you were threatened with arrest. She never dealt with a single word of my complaint. Don't forget, I wrote my complaint based on an audio recording, so based on facts about how I was treated, about how I was set up. They called the police. I haven't done anything wrong, and they called the police. She didn't address any of that. She didn't address the fact that I quoted a lot of the dialogue of what happened from the transcript of my complaint in the complaint. She didn't address any of that, not a single word. She never even addressed the fact that I had an audio recording and that I had written a transcript of the audio recording. She never even mentioned an audio recording. She never dealt with my complaint at all. She didn't deal with my complaint at all. She also said she had spoken to people at Gedye Sons, and they didn't see anything that led them to believe that I was abused by the police officers. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So the people that called the police, that set me up, didn't see anything wrong with what the police did. Oh, really? And it's outrageous because she refused to contact me. She refused to speak to me about my complaint before she made her response. And yet she's put in her response that she's spoken to staff of Gedye Sons. My complaint was about my treatment by the police officers. You know, the police can't deal with a complaint about Gedye Sons. You know, and yet she's involving Gedye Sons in my complaint. She's contacted Gedye Sons, told them I've made a complaint, discussed my complaint, which is private, with them, and discussed my affairs with them, And it gets even worse later. It gets even worse later. Yes, it gets worse later. I'm getting cold. So, I'm starting to feel cold. It's getting cold here. So it was an appalling response, especially since, I was troubled and traumatized by that experience. I made a complaint only to get that absolute appalling response. These British complaints processes give these police license to respond to complaints any way they choose, to abuse the complainant to any extent, even to get threatened in some way, find some way of threatening the complainant. Some complainants have then been issued with some sort of like notice, like a sort of some sort of notice where they've caused some sort of disorder, like a notice, like a kind of fine or something like that, or a summons of some sort, after making the complaint by the people they're complaining about. Yes. And she did something like that to me, but not directly. This nasty woman wrote a much more detailed so-called investigation log, investigation report. It's much more detailed, several pages, maybe 5 pages, which she sent to the complaints department to go into my file without my knowledge. She did that. Don't forget, the response she made to me was about 2 or 3 short paragraphs. Abusive, insulting, outrageous paragraphs. Completely dismissive. Because when I realized she had been in contact with what I realized were the solicitors of the firm, the solicitors that have abused me, I was so outraged, I took the opportunity to write a detailed subject access request to the disclosure department, disclosure and compliance department of Cumbria Constabulary. Subject access request. So I took the opportunity to write the subject access request, and one of the things I asked for was anything in my files relating to what this sergeant had written as a result of her contact with Gedye Sons. I wanted to know what she had discussed with the solicitors and what they had told her. I asked for a lot of other things as well, but that was one of the main things I wanted. And when it came, it was absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Really vindictive, really nasty. I saw in there what she has said to the solicitors, what they've said to her. I saw what things the police officers I complained about said when she spoke to them. You know, a lot of nasty stuff. You know, these complaints are not complaints. They're not complaints at all. They don't investigate. The investigations are not investigations. She basically investigated me. She was meant to investigate my complaint, but she investigated me. The solicitors told her a lot of lies. They told her a lot of lies. And a lot of like twisted stuff, twisted. They said that I had been found in the building of 15 Old Bailey, having tailgated my way in, followed someone else that was in. I had been found there, as though that building belongs to a lot of people. It doesn't just belong. It's not just used by them, and they only use. Maybe they use a few desks in a room there. You know. It's not just for them. You know. They said I think it's the solicitor that has abused me. He said that I have come to Grange-over-Sands and been telling the residents of Grange-over-Sands not to use their business, This is rubbish. But of course, even if I did do that, I'm perfectly entitled to do that. But the fact that he's telling the police that means that he wants the police to do something about me speaking to residents. I have been to Grange-over-Sands several times, and I have spoken to residents. At no time did I say, don't go there, don't use them. I just told people what had been done to me by this solicitor and what had been done to me by the other solicitor when I had been to the office. You know, I had told them. And one resident told me that the firm does not even have a good reputation in the village. That other people in the village have had problems with them, have had bad treatment, and they don't even have a good reputation in the village. That was valuable for me to hear, because I was really suffering when I heard that, and I thanked that person for telling me that. I thanked them. You know. So the solicitor had told this policewoman that I was going around the town telling people not to use their business. So that was a lie. He also told her that I had tried to get us follow one of the staff of the firm who was in a car, follow them as much as I could, as closely as I could. It's nonsense. That staff member was actually stalking me in his or her car, because one time when I was there, I noticed I was standing somewhere in the town, and I noticed that a car that was meant to turn into another road was just stationary. Instead of turning into another road, it was like, it looked like the driver was watching me. The driver wasn't going anywhere, and he was just there. So after I walked away and I noticed that the car was still there, I turned back and I decided I'm going to get up close to this car and see who's in there. I'm going to see who is this person that seems to be stalking me. And I walked towards the car, but before I got close enough to see who was in the car drove off. So they then, because I decided to show that I'm not running away from you, I have nothing to hide, I'm doing nothing wrong. Let me see who you are. Let me look you in the face. That person wasn't willing for me to see who they were, and they drove off. They then told that ended up in this solicitor lying to this police woman and telling her that I was basically stalking that driver in that car, when that driver in that car was following and stalking me. They've told many lies about me. They're a really nasty bunch, and she's taken that. She has never put that in her response to my complaint for me to verify it. She never put that to me. She never put any of this to me. And she's put it in a report which she sent to Cumbria Constabulary Complaints Department. It's outrageous. She also put in there that let's see, what else did she put in there? She put many nasty things in there that were lies. Let's see, what else did she say? She said in there that I have I'm a large man with apparent mental health problems. She said I'm a large man with apparent mental health problems. Yes. And in conjunction with that, another of those horrible police officers that dealt with a previous complaint, as a result of my subject access request, I saw that he, in internal communication, he said that I had mental health, like serious mental health problems, schizophrenia, And what else did he say? Another thing. Oh, auditory delusions. Auditory delusions. He actually said that. Schizophrenia and auditory delusions. Where the hell did he get that from? Absolutely outrageous. So this woman, she wrote in her report that I was a large man with apparent mental health problems whose demeanor can be intimidating. What she's saying is code for racist stereotypes. A large man with mental health problems. It's another way of saying he's a big black man. Big black man. The stereotype. Absolutely shocking. A big black crazy man. A big crazy black man. It's shocking. Whose demeanor can be intimidating. That's absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. If I was intimidating, they never asked me to leave. They came out to meet me before the police came. They left me in the reception for 20 minutes. It's absolutely outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. Outrageous with racial stereotypes in there. She even suggested to these solicitors she spoke to, have you thought of getting an injunction out on him? Have you thought of getting out an injunction on him? She put that in there, that she asked them if they had considered getting an injunction. Yes, get an injunction to stop the big black crazy man from coming to your office with his grant of probate, which he has gone through the trouble to get after you have committed fraud and perjury by getting a grant of probate without telling him. So he's come there with his grant of probate and shown it to you and asked politely to speak to one of the owners or the probate manager, and he's waited patiently when you've asked him to wait. You haven't asked him to leave. Get an injunction out on him. This woman is a devil. She's a right devil, this woman. This Sergeant Seath. This nasty woman. She's a devil. She's vindictive. Get an injunction out on him. Best of luck trying to get an injunction out on me, because you have to explain all the things you've done to me if you try to get an injunction out on me. You'd have to explain how it is that you administered my mum's estate without me. You'd have to explain all you've done, because obviously I would be given a chance to say why I didn't think an injunction should be brought out on me, and it would all come out. It would all come out. This nasty woman, she's nasty. absolutely shocking. It's absolutely shocking. She put other stuff as well, other stuff, much more detailed than the rubbish she sent to me in response to my complaint. She put in there that she considered that I was guilty of criminal harassment. Criminal harassment. These police love using this dodgy harassment statute against people. They like using it as an easy way to incriminate people, as an easy way to prosecute people, as an easy way to stitch people up and frame them. Criminal harassment. Someone is fighting for their rights. Someone is seeking the estate information he has a right to after you're denying him that, after you denied him involvement in executorship of his own mother's estate, as you didn't, after you denied he wasn't even an executor, after he saw all sorts of ways of redress and hasn't been getting them, for going to the town and telling people what the horrible things that they've done to me, for going to the office unannounced and asking with a grant of probate, with my grant of probate, and asking for estate information. They should get out an injunction on me. This woman is nasty, and I have evidence that she's nasty. She's been nasty of how that she's nasty to other people, not just me. I saw on the internet a story in a local Cumbrian paper of a woman that had, and it showed her photograph, you know, like criminalizing her, demonizing her, that this woman has been given a behavioral order, some sort of behavioral order, that if she phones Cumbria Constabulary in the next, I don't know how long, year, at least year, maybe longer than that, she will go to prison. She will be prosecuted and go to prison for calling Cumbria Constabulary, because it said that this woman in the last 6 months called Cumbria Constabulary maybe 25 to 30 times. And when I read this, I thought, there's nothing in this report from her point of view. There's nothing, her side is not told in this report. This looks like just police propaganda facilitated by a local Cumbrian newspaper, which obviously is does Cumbria Constabulary favours by printing reports on their behalf. You know, there was not a single thing in her favour. Didn't explain why she had been calling, you know. And I've phoned Cumbria Constabulary and been treated like crap twice. I've had the phone put down on me, and I've been treated like crap. In fact, one of the times was the source of a complaint, because I was told to phone them using 101 by other Cumbria police, and yet when I did, I was treated like crap, and I was in distress. I wasn't helped. And that woman said she'd get back to me and never did. She never did. This woman could easily have been treated like that. I've heard of other Cumbrians that said that when they call Cumbria Police, they just put the phone down on them. You know, she could have been ignored by them and been ringing because she'd been ignored by them, because they're appalling. Nothing like that was put in that report. No quotes from her, no lawyer to speak for her, to say what her side. It was outrageous, that report. Propaganda it was. And guess what? Towards the end of the report, this nasty sergeant that dealt with my complaint was quoted. She was quoted. She was behind that. She was behind that. She was behind getting this behavioural order on this poor woman. And she was quoted. The poor woman wasn't quoted. The poor woman wasn't quoted at all. She was quoted. She was behind that. So the same woman that was involved in getting some sort of behaviour order for this poor woman asked the Gedye Sons solicitors if they had considered getting out an injunction on me. But she didn't say that to me in her response to my complaint. She didn't say that to me. That's outrageous, man. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. I knew that this woman is a really nasty, vindictive woman when I read that report, and when I saw how she responded to my complaint, and especially when I read the investigation report she had written about me, where she investigated me rather than investigate my complaints. This nasty, nasty woman, Sergeant Sarah Seif of Barrow Police Station. Yes, that's enough for now.